Hey, what's up guys? Jackson here with Toasty DIY, and today we're taking a look at this awesome UTV side-by-side that I just picked up. So this is a 2016 Arctic Cat WildCat 700 Trail. It's a mouthful, but this is a side-by-side that's pretty much smallest in its class. It can fit on the, I believe it's 50-inch trails, 50 or 55, one of those two. But that is one thing that separates the Sport from the Trail. Is that the Sport's a little bit wider, the Trail's a little bit skinnier, and a couple other features, you know, give or take. But this thing MSRP's starting around, I want to say 12 grand, so 12,000 USD, but that's obviously like without options and stuff like that. That's just base price. This obviously does have some pretty cool options, one of them being a snow plow, and that actually works with the winch that goes up front, which is technically a separate option. Basically, you got this winch right here. I don't actually even have the hook on right now, but you would take this, hook your snow plow up. It goes one right here and then one right here. That's like your pivot point, and then this holds the plow so you can raise it up and down with the electronic winch control. It's actually using this button right here, which is pretty cool. So yeah, that's definitely a nice feature. This thing does actually have full-on headlights with brights and everything. It does have full brake lights that work, which is really nice as well. It has a tiny little bed, not really much to do with it, but you know, you got a little bit of space. You can see my hand takes up like a quarter of it. Lots of really easy to access stuff. So like you got your I believe air filters right there, and then to actually fill this thing up with gas, really simple, low to the ground, hole right there. And then right in here, a couple of kind of cool features, because you didn't have to actually get a windshield with this. This basically pops up, and then you can just take this, raise it up like that. You can undo these guys right here, and this is how you get to your radiator, and a few other things. So here's your actual radiator. It's just a pretty standard, just tiny liquid cooled radiator with a small fan on it. This is actually a dry storage. That's another like optional thing. Normally there just would have been like void space here. Basically just roll cage and wiring harness, but this is a dry box. You know, it has a seal around it. You have some other fluids in here. Like we have our brake fluid, and then I can't even remember what this is, actually radiator overflow, I think. Oh, my hood just fell off, and the hood is literally just like is plastic and just clips in like that. And some other things that were not really add-ons, more of, I guess, options, and if you want to later add them on, you can. We have side view mirrors. I just added these. These were like 40 bucks off of Amazon. It does come with like a nice little baby glove box there. And you gotta remember, the whole point of UTV is everything needs to be basically waterproof or washable. So like the whole interior is basically ready to be hosed out. I mean, these seats really aren't supposed to absorb water. Everything's just plastic essentially, just so that it doesn't absorb anything. We do have like the actual half doors rather than full doors. I've seen you can kind of get both. I don't really know, you know, what the exact difference between the two, besides just one goes all the way down. We have relatively newer tires. I know this has new CV joints, or at least newer CV joints on it. It does have a 2-inch receiver in the back, which I just have like one of those multi-ball mounts, because this thing actually can tow close to 1,000 pounds, or right around 1,000 pounds. So really good for moving like trailers, small boats, stuff like that around the yard. You're obviously not meant to use these things for that stuff, like long distance. Don't use it for like giant RVs or anything. You're just using it for smaller stuff, you know, recreational stuff. This thing does have 2-wheel and 4-wheel drive, which can be selected right here. You do have to be stopped because it's literally just a locking bar, since this is belt driven. We do have a oh shit handle right there. You can see just a basic Prindle, as you would call it, a park neutral, or park reverse neutral, high and low. And then it also has a overdrive in here, which I'm not really even, well, I don't know, maybe it's not hooked up. Doesn't really seem like it does anything. Like this is actually on like a toggle. This one's just kind of loosey-goosey, so I don't really know if that's hooked up or not. Hopefully it's in the right spot if it isn't. It does have a 12-volt DC power jack. And then just to go over some of the specs on this thing. So it's a 700cc inline twin 4-stroke, so you're doing oil changes and everything. You're not just adding oil straight to the gas, but it's a lot cleaner and everything. It is electronically fuel injected, which is really nice. Makes a little over 60 horsepower. It actually has electronic power steering, which is pretty cool too. So you're not having to like deal with any like weird hydraulics, and you're not having, you know, no power steering at all. Another thing that's really nice, which I kind of pointed out, is the electronic 2 to 4-wheel drive switch. Just, you know, press it with a flip of a switch, or in 4-wheel drive. Another thing that's really cool about this thing is it weighs just 1,000 pounds. And that's, you know, dry weight essentially, so not necessarily including like gas and oil, but even with that stuff, you're maybe, I mean, you're still looking at under 1,100 pounds, which is really light, especially if you accidentally flip this thing or something. The overall width is actually 50 inches, so I think I'm right when I say it'll basically, that means you're allowed to do like the smallest trails, which are like 50 inch, and I think once you go lower than that, you're hitting like dirt bike trail pretty much. This thing does hold 7.4 gallons of gas, which is a pretty decent capacity, and it lasts quite a while. I mean, that's one thing I've noticed with most UTVs though, is unless you're just absolutely hammering it all the time, like doing some insane trails, these things can really get, I mean, a full day's worth of fun on a single tank of gas, or really less. I remember, you know, the few times that I've ridden on one of these, just being able to just hammer it all day through like the dunes and stuff like that in like Colorado, and not even seeing the bar of gas go down like one notch. So that was really nice. Another thing I did add is I did add a soft top to it. So this is Tusk Off-Road. I think it was like 60 bucks, and I really like it. It obviously doesn't, I mean, it's not like the prettiest thing in the world because the roll cage there's not much to it, so there's not a lot of rigidity. But so far, every time I've used it, it's worked pretty good. It doesn't like flap super hard in the wind or anything. And this thing will actually, believe it or not, do about 60 miles an hour. I have not tested that. I don't really think I plan on testing it, but hey, it'll do it, which is pretty cool. I think without further ado, we go ahead and give this thing a cold start, because as you can see, there's snow on the ground. So right now, I think it's about 30 degrees, maybe, it might be more like 28. And so we're gonna see, you know, just how this thing does with a cold start. One thing they did add is they did add a little battery tender here, so you basically just hook that up to there. I haven't actually even used that yet. I don't even have the specific battery tender, so this is what I need to get eventually. I don't think I've started this thing in about 3 days. Hopefully it has enough juice to start. It'd be really fun if it didn't, because then I'm gonna say, all right guys, I'll be right back. Now I do have to kind of feather the gas a little bit. When it's cold like this, it definitely is not like staying running when you first start it. So just kind of just giving it a little bit of gas just to keep it running. All right, I'm letting off, and there we go. We're idling. Definitely a good sign. Yeah, this thing, I would say it has a fairly smooth idle. You do have to remember, it's a 2-cylinder. So it's definitely, I mean, it's a little bit chunky. Hopefully it's still in pretty good shape. We're not like leaking yet, but you can see we're getting pretty rusty, so it might eventually start leaking. And if it does, I'm actually thinking about trying to get a quieter exhaust, if that's even possible. I don't know if maybe I can have like a resonator and then like a, you know, stainless steel MagnaFlow or something to it, but you know, I like loud stuff to an extent. This is just one of those things that I'm not really using this for a lot of off-roading and like fun trail, you know, going crazy. I'm actually using this for like, you know, I have a snowplow. I have a pretty long driveway that I have to go up to bring the trash there back, so I built a small trailer for that. So I'm using it for more utility purposes. I'm on about 5.5 acres too, so I have some trailers that I move around here and there to put in the barn. So utility-wise, this thing's awesome for me. So we're gonna let this thing warm up for just a minute or two, and then we're gonna take it through the backyard and have a little bit of fun. Yeah, so we got some snow on the ground, so of course we gotta kind of take a little bit of advantage of that, you know? I do my best not to tear up the yard. Otherwise, I would honestly, I would just be holding the gas down, just doing, you know, drifts and stuff. I find that the most fun, just kind of drifting, you know, doing some jumps. But this is my actual backyard, so I try not to be too crazy with it, because I mean, look at this grass. It's not too bad for the winter time, and I don't want it to be terrible in the summer. So I'm gonna go ahead and go selfie stick view so we can get some outside shots. Well, hey, somehow the lens on the camera stayed clean. The whole entire backside of it's covered in mud, but yeah. So that was a fun little ride. Like I said, 2016 Arctic WildCat trail. This thing was pretty cool. You can see we got some nice sloshy mud on there, some nice wintry mud. But yeah, you know, if you guys want to see any future videos on this, let me know in the comment section down below. You know, if you guys want to see like a 3-year, 4-year, 5-year later video, how it's doing and everything. I mean, overall right now she's doing pretty good. It has, you know, relatively lower hours and miles though. I think it has like God, I have to check. I want to say 200 something hours. You know, let's fact check that real quick. Let's see how many hours we actually have on here, because I'm sure that's probably a question a lot of you will have. You'll be like, hey, how does this thing, you know, it's 2016, so technically made in 2015. It's about, you know, 4, 5, 6 years old now, whatever you want to call it. All right, so let's see. Temp, volt, intake air, tach. Okay, so it has 1,195 miles, and I think that's a tripometer. Hours, so 127 hours, so not bad. So relatively low hours. It seems like the thing's hour-wise has mainly been used driving. It's not like it's been idling a ton. So definitely nice. But yeah, I mean, overall though, for its age and everything, it was taken pretty well care of. Like I said, there's been a couple things that have been replaced on it as well, so that really helps. But yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one. I appreciate you all watching.